It's Tuesday, so I'm going to start a new series called Tidbit Tuesdays. So what I thought I would do is provide a tidbit at least every Tuesday about different aspects of insurance and things you should know in an effort to try to help make it less confusing. So the tidbit for this week is out-of-pocket maximums. So if you have traditional ACA insurance or maybe insurance through your employer, if you don't know what your out-of-pocket maximum is, number one, you need to find out. Because what an out-of-pocket maximum is, it's not necessarily what you think it is. So that's why I wanted to talk to everyone about that today, because one would think, well, if it says my out-of-pocket maximum per person is $8,000, for a family it's $16,000, you feel like if you have a major event, that is all you are going to pay for your care. Well, that's not true. Big surprise, this is not true. What it actually means is that for network benefits, that means if your hospital providers, testing facilities, all those places, if they're in network, then yes, that's the amount you will be charged for in-network benefits. But most hospitals utilize out-of-network providers, and you will not know that till you get a bill. So you will be responsible for 100% of out-of-network charges by the insurance. You will also be responsible for any non-covered services that the insurance deems is not coverable or not needed. Even if the doctor recommends a test, if it's not in their scope of covered services, that doesn't apply to your out-of-pocket max, and you're on the hook for all of it. That is also true for your copays. Your copays generally do not apply to your yearly out-of-pocket maximum. So I'm not telling you this to scare you. If you have a major event and you think, oh my gosh, I could owe, yes, you could. You could owe a lot of money still, even if you think you have good insurance and the most you're going to pay each year if you have something bad happen is $8,000. But there are avenues to you that if you do get a bill for an out-of-network doctor, if it's an emergency, there's great avenues, because Texas passed a law the first of the year that if you have a true emergency, and again, that will be determined by what the fine print says in your insurance policy, but what a true emergency is, they cannot bill you, the facility cannot be more than what you would have paid in network. Yes, you're still going to be on the hook for what insurance would have paid. That doesn't mean insurance is necessarily going to pay, but your charges will be reduced because of that. The other thing is, anytime, even if you have network benefits, anytime you get a bill from a facility, you should not pay it right away. You should first make sure your insurance paid properly, because it happens all the time where doctors' offices and facilities bill incorrectly. They use third-party billers. That means they send it out somewhere. They don't train the people themselves. And they send it somewhere, and if the notes are not clear or someone, just human error, made a mistake, your insurance will deny it, and you're going to have to get with the facility and get them to rebill it correctly. I've recently dealt with this, that they marked, one of my clients, they marked their bill as a work-related injury, and it was not, and their insurance denied the whole $95,000 claim, saying it was work-related, and the client had to call the facility, explain what happened, that it was not a work-related injury, and to please refile the claim, because the hospital's not going to get paid until they file the claim correctly, and then we'll deal with the copays and those kinds of things. So copays usually, again, like I said, do not apply to your out-of-pocket max. So if you do get a bill from your facility, like I said, review it, make sure it was paid correctly. That's why it's important for you to know your basic benefits. You can always call the insurance company to clarify why they didn't pay something. And then once you find out what your true, well, it's not even a true balance, but what the balance they're saying that you owe is, that's when negotiation comes in. All hospitals have a financial assistance program. Even if you think you do not qualify based on income, it's not based on income. It's based on ability to repay. So it is important what other debts you have and things like that, because most people qualify for something. So that's one way to get the bill reduced. I just recently got a ambulance bill reduced. That was last year, and it was out of network, so insurance didn't pay anything. But the ambulance, I noticed the statement that came in the mail was the same price, and so I called on behalf of the client, and they said, oh, we forgot to apply the discount. Thank you, which they did. And then I said, well, what else can you do? Because there's other bills and this person cannot afford to pay this. And so they reduced it to the Medicare pricing, cut the bill in half. So the client was happy, and I asked if there was any other assistance. The ambulance said no, but you can pay whatever you want every month. So I told the client, well, you can pay $10 a month till it's paid off. Or, if you come up with some money, they're not going to charge you interest, just make your monthly payment. So we saved half that. This is true for hospital bills. Financial assistance, always apply for that first and see if they'll reduce any of that. And then if they will, then you can make a payment arrangement, or sometimes even after they reduce it, you can offer them 50% and say, hey, will you, and I've had clients do this. They call and say, hey, the balance is this. If I give you half it today, will you accept that as full payment? And most times they will, because for them to take time to collect, it costs them money. And of course, the older the debt is, the more chance you have of negotiating. The sweet spot is between 90 days and 6 months, because most facilities have contracts with different insurance providers. They can't really negotiate till the bill is at least 90 days old and in collection status. Once it's in collection status, they have more leeway to adjust things off. And of course, the closer it gets to 6 months, the more willing they are to negotiate, because they want to collect something. They've already been carrying it on the books this long, and they won't turn it into collections for 6 months. There are some rules and laws that says they have to give ample opportunity for you guys to work out an agreement before they put it on your credit report. And then even then, not saying you shouldn't pay your bills, but even then, there's a lot of places that will, if they see some medical stuff on your credit report, they won't even hold that against you, because they know that the pricing that hospitals charge are not real prices. And that's another whole topic I can talk about, how they just really gouge you. So for instance, there's a test called a comprehensive metabolic panel. If you go to the lab, one of the local labs, you'll pay, I think the average cost full price on that test is like $70, which is still high, but $70. Well, this client was in the hospital and they did labs every day. They had COVID, so they were checking all their lab levels. The CMP, or comprehensive metabolic panel, on the hospital bill, they were charging $1,653 a day for this test. His bill was $99,000. And so he's one of my clients for some of the supplemental coverages, so we were trying to get those claims handled. And I told him, once your health insurance pays, this should be discounted. I doubt very seriously, as long as it was all in network, that you're going to even owe close to this. But once you get a final bill, let's look at it and let's make sure, because that's not a real price. That test itself, I can tell you, having worked in doctor's offices, if the doctor bills the client for the test and lets the lab bill the doctor, they charge the doctor $3. $3 for that test. And they're making a profit on that $3. So $70 is too much. $1,600 is certainly way too much. So let's circle back around. Out-of-pocket maximums. You need to know what your out-of-pocket maximums are so you can have the leverage. Insurance makes mistakes. Billing makes mistakes. You want to know what those limits are and know what your network providers are. At least use a network provider hospital. You should know that ahead of time. Whatever insurance you have, find out who's in network before you have an emergency. Same thing with urgent care, same thing with ER. Another trick, is if you're having an emergency, depending on the type of emergency, you know, I always want everyone to seek care. I don't want someone to be concerned about what kind of bill they're going to get if they're having a heart attack. But if you've broken a leg, don't go to the ER. Go to urgent care if you break a leg, because it's cheaper. They do the same service, but they'll bill less. And the other trick is urgent care places, find out who's in network, but also find out how they do billing. And you're like, what? Well, there's some urgent care places that after hours, they charge as an ER, even though it's the same facility that would charge you urgent care pricing during 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever their hours are. So that's always something good to ask as well. You know, if you know you have an emergency, do you want to go to a true urgent care that's going to charge you urgent care prices, or do you need to go to the ER? If you do, then go. Or, you know, ambulance is going to take you to the closest place, so you don't get to negotiate that if you have to call an ambulance. We'll negotiate that after the fact. There's tricks and things you can do to minimize your out-of-pocket costs. So, that was a lot of information. I kind of digressed a little bit on the billing, but that will be another topic, bill negotiation, because there's lots of tricks to that trade. And think about out-of-pocket max. Your homework for this week is to look at your health insurance plan and find out what your individual and family maximums are and how that applies to you. Until next week, peace out.